My graphic novel pages went from looking like this to looking like this. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the exact prep and steps that I took to advance my page drawing process to get to this quality of page every single time. And it's always within the span of one working day. So 8 hours or less for one page. Have you wondered how webcomic and weekly illustrators can be so consistent without burning out? I think, very humbly saying, that I figured out the answer through my own refined process. I don't think it's any secret that in the world of indie comics and graphic novel or webcomic making, most creators tend to realize how hard making an online comic is, and it's often very shortly into actually starting the project. Show of hands in the comments, of course, how many stories have you started and loved, only to find out that that said story has not been updated in over 8 months. For the creators, I speculate that uploading at a minimum a page a week leads to so many stories just getting left behind within 1 or 2 years of conception. Very sadly. For example, my own personal example, I, present tense, love Cucumber Quest. It was a huge inspiration as I pursued my own graphic novel and comic dub. I remember watching the dub for Cucumber Quest, and I also remember sneaking to read new pages on an alternate tab while I was at work at my boring desk job in my early 20s, something I definitely should not have been doing, but was doing anyway. And I also very clearly remember how absolutely devastated I was when I found out that the pages and the visual storytelling aspect of Cucumber Quest actually never finished. Now, I love Cucumber Quest, so of course I read what the creator left for all of the avid readers in a Google document, but I will admit, it can be and was very disappointing when, I'll say, an intellectual property that I or you love doesn't have an actual satisfying end. For those of you that like Gravity Falls, I love Gravity Falls myself. The creator of Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch, has said that Gravity Falls was a labor of love. But, like all labor, it could be painful at times. And I think that quote perfectly encapsulates and can be implied to any creative pursuit. So, all of that to be said, because I'm trying to say that I hope this video helps make the creation process a little less painful and a little more easy to one day mark your creative pursuit complete. In case you have no idea who I am or what authority I have on the subject, hello! My name is Tiara, and I am the creator of the online graphic novel, The Lost Land Sage. I've been working on The Lost Land Sage for over 3 years, actually, but I have been publishing 2 pages every other week since December of 2024. By the way, now I'm also posting pages every week on Sunday on WEBTOONs, so you can find those links in the description, but I urge you to stick around and watch the rest of this video. Okay, hello, welcome to Live Time Tiara. Right now I want to take you guys through the pre-steps, which are essential before ever getting into the actual process of creating a graphic novel page. As you can see here, this is just my complete Lost Land Sage sort of assets, references, guides, folder. You can see here we have the magic chart, we have character sheets, examples of how the magic is used, concept art, etc., etc. But what I want to focus on are 3 main things. In the first one, I'm just going to hop into this here. So for this reference sheet, this is going to be the basic number 1 pre-step needed for creating a graphic novel. And something like this, where you have this front view, the side view, quarter view, back view, I think those kind of things will be the bare minimum, most basics, but very useful, as well as like a full body view of the character, just so when you get started you have something you're working with. Now, I made this a long time ago, and I've redone it twice now, and the character has since also been gone through a character study, but that's going to be the next step. So after having this basic reference, I went through and I was having an issue with making sure the character looked the same every single time. So what I did was I just did a little character study, an exploration of the character. And how I did that, I started off with this sort of neutral quarter view of the character. And then I took what were the basic shapes of what her character face looks like. So we've got the head shape here, nose shape here, ear, neck, and then hair shape. And I basically copied that into these 6 different things here. English is very easy and comes to me very naturally. But I did these 6 things here, and then I basically explored emotions that were true to the character. So the thinking emotion, cheerful emotion, shocked emotion, solving, questioning, sad and disappointed. So I basically explored what would this character, like what emotions are pertinent to her. So you can see there's no anger emotion here because she is very slow to anger. Like if Wisteria is angry, something crazy has happened. So anger isn't an emotion she's going to have very often, so I didn't put that here. I just explored this character. And so after doing that, I basically did not look at this quarter view of the character at all before deciding to do the neutral after quarter view, where you can see all of that personality, all of that emotion. I feel like that's all very visible in this face, way more than it was in this face. So doing this emulsion character study, I think, was very essential. This is another reference that can easily be used when creating the graphic novel page. It's a very useful tool, but what really came from this are these angles, these face angles, because basically what I was able to do was create, based off of that original, this original quarter view here, I was able to create this entire top row, middle row, bottom row of her neutral face in all angles. And this again helps super a lot. I'm also working on this for autumn. I didn't complete the whole thing because, you know what, it's a lot of work. I won't lie to you, it is a lot of work to get these done. And if you're not very good at top and bottom views of a character's face, it's gonna take a little brain power. But once you have that done, the thing that's so great about it, and I'll show it here, I have, as you can see here, Wisteria stamps, autumn stamps. I also want to make Pip and any other important character. As you can see with these stamps, so I have front, quarter, right, left, quarter left, left, up front, and that just means that no matter what, I can just boom, stamp. You can't really see it. Let me duplicate this a little. You just stamp there her face in whatever direction I would needed within, and again, it's not very clear because it's usually for a sketch, but I can just stamp whatever direction her face is that I need, and it makes drawing so much faster and easier. So it is a lot of upfront work to get all the faces, get all of the directions that you need for the faces, but once you have that stamp, and I'll show you an example within my actual work, a little spoiler here, but once I have the stamp for the direction that her face goes, and you could literally stamp it over her head right here. Once I have that direction of her face and I'm just putting it over where the sketch is, I can change the emotion, I can change the way her face muscles are, but it keeps the character looking the same in every instance I draw her, in every direction I draw her, and it makes it super easy for me. I don't have to think about, okay, now I have to draw her face every time. So for all the characters where that is applicable, it's really great. It's a very big pre-step, but I think it's very, very essential because, like I said, it saves time. I also want to do this sort of rotational and emotion study with the character for bodies, because I've come to find that now that heads and emotions and faces are very, very easy because of the stamps and the studies that I've done. Now it's bodies that tend to look different in every scene, so I want to do that for the main characters as well. But again, this is just a great start. Extra time investment, worth it in the end. So the character reference sheets and the character head stamps were both step 1 and 2. So that's actually 2 steps, the pre-steps. The final pre-step, I'm going to say, are character and world color palettes. So I'm going to open this up here. You can see here. So this top color palette, this is basically my working color palette. So for the YouTube videos, for underpainting, I've got blacks, grays, and whites, red and blue for foreground and background overlays. This is the top one is my working color palette. These others, so I've got a color palette for Wisteria, her skin, the dark parts of her skin, her hair, her tongue, her top, her dress, her shawl, those colors, her hairpiece, all of those colors are all within Wisteria's color palette. Same for Pip, all of his colors in his color palette, all of Autumn's colors, all of Rose's colors, and these are the main characters that I have for now. As I create more characters, obviously this will grow, but these are the essential the colors for the character, and so I think it's essential to have these easily available. So if I am coloring Wisteria, boom, I could just, that's her skin, easy. I also highly recommend doing color palettes for territory / world / environment colors. So what I would do is I would create, say, a shelf of books, export that image, add it as a color palette, a new color palette from photos, and then I can easily reference, okay, these are the colors that the books within the world have, just so it's cohesive. These are the general colors within the Greenery Coven's territory, the general colors of the witches, whether it's skin tones or the colors of their clothes, and this is just the general environment, the coins within the world, and then it sort of ends here. The rest is just color palettes that came with Procreate. But these color palettes are very essential, I think, to, again, just making the process of creating a page very, very easy. These are the pre-steps that I would recommend before ever getting into drawing a graphic novel page. Hi, I'm back. Little persona me is back. I just wanted to stop and do a little break in the middle of this video because the only person sponsoring me, little old me, is me. So I want to tell you guys about my Ko-Fi. I leave it linked in the description. On my Ko-Fi, you can either follow for free regular updates and blog posts, or you could become a member for between $1 and $20, where I reward members with early page releases, monthly digital downloads, Discord access, and a lot more little things, including shoutouts in these YouTube videos. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would love if you checked out the link in the description and joined Ko-Fi. Otherwise, cuddle up in your blanket, take a sip of your little drinky drink or a bite of your little snacky snack, and let's finish this video. Okay, now I think it's important to talk about creating the graphic novel page. These are the actual steps and how I have found the best way to execute them in creating this graphic novel page after the pre-steps. So step 1 is going to be scripting. This is how I lay out my scripts. I started off, I have it as different pages so it's easy to navigate, but I started off with noting italicized means action, bold and italicized means a thought, and then just plain a normal text is just speaking. And so I have that established, so if any case I'm coming back to it or I'm having someone else get it, they know exactly what's going on with that. And then I have what the chapter is, and then I break it down. I said this previously, I break down my chapters into scenes. That's a terrible arrow, but I break down my chapters into scenes because the chapters are very long. Not very long, but I think the chapters are a bit longer, and the scenes are really where the chapters are broken down. So in this scene, scene 1, which is published right now, you can see that the characters are Rose and the Coven Head. I put the list of all of the characters that are in the scene, and then I put where the scene is taking place, just so I'm sure that I have all of the necessary things that I need to ensure that this entire scene can be completed in one go. And so, yeah, you have here Coven Headquarters, script, and I have the script. I have it for a long time, a little sneak peek in the future maybe, but yeah, I have the entire script, and then once I have the script, what I do is I go into storyboarding. So again, this is a little sneak peek, so lucky you're getting a sneak peek, but these are the last pages that will be published in June. And I do 4 pages at a time for my storyboard, so these are the beginning of July, but these are the last 4 pages of June. So when I'm storyboarding, I have found that the more detailed I am with the storyboard, whether it's characters or scene, if the characters are within a scene, and even value mapping, the more detailed I am with that, the easier it is. So I sort of call this step more ideation. So I'm having who the character is here, maybe not necessarily drawing their face in, but just who the character is. And then I'm having where I want the text to go. I'm having any kind of outlines of other characters that I want shown, or any other ways that I want here, any other ways I want the scene to appear. And I'm just trying to be as detailed with posing specifically as possible. So you see I have her shawl outlined here, just trying to be as detailed as possible in these ways, so it is, again, as easy as possible in the next step. So storyboarding would be the next step, and then within the storyboarding, I think you can see here, within the storyboarding, I often paste pieces of the script because it's all within Procreate, so it's really easy to do. And you can see here, this storyboarding is not as good as the next one because like the proportions are all off. It was really more for value mapping for this because it's very establishing these 4 pages, but the more detailed the storyboard, the better it will be for you in the end. And then once I have storyboarded, I hop over to, and I'll go back to the pages that I was working on so you can see here. So I go back, and you can see where the inspiration from the storyboard turned into. I go back into this and I am drawing out. So as you can see here, and I'm trying to do my best to show you this without a time lapse, and I will do a time lapse if I need to. But as you can see here, I paste the storyboard directly in. Usually what I do is I go to the page and I will just cut out whatever portion I would need to create those boxes. I don't outline them. I've tried that and it is annoying and often doesn't work very well for the style that I'm trying to do. So I will just cut out using the square rectangle lasso tool. I'll just cut out all the different panels that I need. So I'd cut one this way, I'd cut a panel this way, clipping mask the storyboard on top, and I'll work panel to panel, one step at a time. So the next step after finishing the storyboarding, ideation, sketching, and moving into the actual file where the pages are created, that is when I start not final sketching, believe it or not. I will start creating the text because I handwrite all of the text within the Lost Land Sage. I've always been told that I have very pretty handwriting, and so I took it to heart and decided to handwrite, and this is bad because I'm writing the video and I'm usually a lot more careful, but I go in and I handwrite every single word within the dialogue and then create the speech bubbles, because I've come to find that creating the dialogue and the speech bubbles are the most important part of the novel aspect of the graphic novel. In order to do that well, it is best to do it first, because it's very easy within this sketching stage to adjust the character and move them around and make them fit how you need them to. It is much more difficult to do that for after you've already created the character and locked in the pages. So yeah, I will go in and do the text. I'll go in and do the text, but then after the text, that is when I go in with this style of final sketch, where it's you could still see guidelines and things, but it's basically, this is the character's face, this is the emotion she'll have in the scene, this is what she'll look like, these are her clothes, her shoes, etc., etc. And just creating that. I'll do the same thing for Wisteria here. Definitely had to get a little magical girl pose in there, but yeah, I'll go through and do that final sketch. So I think I am going to have to show a time lapse. That'll be interesting. I'll show you here through this time lapse. So basically I start with, and again, this is another one where the storyboard was not as detailed as this new storyboard, so it wasn't as easy. But okay, and I also did the sketches before the text, but I'll do the text, you see here. I'll work on creating the background. After that, I'll do the outlines of the characters, the line art and the outlines, any extra text like the nod on that second panel there. I'll do the underpainting. I underpaint all of my characters. I think that's what gives my characters that certain kind of style. That is my style. I'm so sorry for studying over my words. But yes, I will underpaint every single character. And then what I do when I paint over them is, and I don't know if you can tell it here, but what I do is I lower the opacity of the flat colors so that the underpainting just shows through just a bit. And that's what gives my characters sort of that, I was told it's like blue raspberry underneath. Then I add the lighting and the shadow, sort of really help the environment and the characters feel like they're within the environment. And yeah, that's how I complete the page. So basically those steps again, and I'll show it here in this other page where the storyboarding is really good. I start with okay, there we go. Okay, I was gonna say, am I doing the sketch again? I start with writing out the dialogue, creating the speech bubbles. Then I do the final draft of the sketch where I add character details, faces, clothes, accessories, emotion, etc. Then I work on the background. Okay, maybe not in this case. Then I work on the character outline the characters, create the characters. And I did that on this one as opposed to starting with the background, just because there isn't much of a background. It's a lot of character focus in these panels, so I just worked on the characters, did the underpainting, and I try to keep the blue, pink, yellow underpainting to actual characters. So you can see here the witches and the Grandma Willow character, they do not get that pink and blue and yellow underpainting because they are not basically alive characters, but they still get a underpainting. Then I add in the flat colors in the style that I do, reduce the opacity on that after the flat colors are put in. And because this background, there isn't much going on, it's just basically green with a layer over it of grass and a few little drawn grass things by me. Really super easy. Didn't really focus on the background much, but yeah, after adding the colors, add the light and shadow, finishing kind of touches, and there it is, finished page. I hope this was very informative and not confusing for you, but this is my real world showing you in actual drawing what I'm doing. I'm going to stop this recording and I will catch you guys. It'll be a couple seconds for you, but in the rest of this video. Okay. It's hard for me to speak eloquently without having talking points, and that was the entire iPad section. So I want to just go back over the list of pre-steps and steps so that you can walk away from this video without a bunch of jumbled talking and an actual actionable list of things that you can do to adapt this process in a way that works for you. So, going back from square one, the pre-steps. Pre-step 1, creating character reference sheets. That's a basic character reference sheet along with a color reference. That is an emotion or character study, and that is a rotational head study. You can do more things like a body study, but these 3 essentials I think work just fine, which leads into the next pre-step, which were the character head stamps. So there is the rotational head study that you should have already created in the step prior. And with that study, you create the brush presets within the Procreate program. I'm very sorry, I'm not super familiar with any other programs. I only use Procreate, so that's all I can speak on. If anyone else has any information about any other programs, go ahead and leave it in the comments. We could start a discourse. The third pre-step and final pre-step is going to be a character and world color palette within your program that you can easily reference for when you're coloring in repeated characters or repeated environments. I want to reiterate that the pre-steps take a bit more time, a bit more energy, a bit more brain power than, say, many people would really want to invest into a project early on, but I stand by the fact that I think they're essential in the quality of your work and also the ease of your work in the future. So it's an upfront time investment that will pay off in dividends as you continue working on this project. Now, reiterating the list for how I draw a page in order: scripting, storyboarding, sketching out the ideation, so that is environment, posing, etc. Moving into the file where I'm drawing the pages and pasting in the storyboard, creating the panels, handwriting or typing, if that's what you're doing, the dialogue and adding speech bubbles, creating the final sketch with the characters, their faces, their clothes, their emotions, the background guides, etc., what have you. Then, if it needs it, painting and outlining the backgrounds for all of the panels, creating the line art and outline if necessary for the characters and any essential props. And that's just for my specific style of how I'm creating this graphic novel, where the backgrounds are more painterly and the important characters and props have a black outline, similar to animation. After the line art and outline, I will underpaint the characters, color the characters, shade and highlight the backgrounds, shade and highlight the characters, add the finishing touches, and then you're done. That is a streamlined, organized list of how I create these pages and the process that I use. I truly hope that this video was helpful to you. This is the first kind of tutorial style video I've ever created, which is why in the beginning of this video I really wanted to give my quote unquote credentials, but the point is for this video to be helpful to you. So comment the step that was your favorite out of the process, and man, I am so corny. I'm looking at my script right now. I'm going to say it anyway, but please excuse me. For the love of Pete's steak, stop watching YouTube videos and thinking about planning how you will finally create your graphic novel or your webcomic or what have you, and just pick up a pen, whether it's traditional or digital, and just do it. I made a video about that too, by the way, if you want to check it out. Okay, if you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate if you'd like and subscribe. You'd be letting the YouTube robots know that very cool people like you enjoy very cool videos like mine, and you'd see me again in 2 weeks when I post a new video. Also, you can read the Lost Lands page, which is linked down in the description. I post 2 new pages on Comic Fury every other Sunday, so next week is when 2 new pages will be released. I also post 2 pages on WEBTOON every Sunday, so you can go read those new pages right now. WEBTOON is behind Comic Fury, which is why I post every week. So if you want to see those pages as they come out on Webtoon. You will be behind on Comic Fury, so I warn you for spoilers. Okay, I think that's everything. All I have left to say is stay curious and suffer the consequences. I'll see you next time. Bye.